Hello everyone, back tuning in to today's second video. Going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. For today's second video, it takes us into the second week of February. We'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and ECMWF. We'll also have a look at the CFSV2 for the next month at the end of the video. I've got lots of snow pictures to show you. I haven't got time to include them in today's video. I'm running very late with today's second video, so I'll show you some of those at the start of Gaz Weatherlies Sunday Roundup. Had some more pics emailed and shared with us at various places, so I'll show you a few more of those at the start of the Gaz Weatherlies Sunday Roundup tomorrow morning. Or when you watch it, it'll be just after lunchtime tomorrow. Also, a lot of updates coming up tomorrow. I was supposed to tell you about those at the end of weekend broadcast, but I forgot, so sorry about that. I'll just go through all of those updates that are on the way tomorrow. So we've got, starting off with the spring, some spring analogues. That'll be with you. First video up tomorrow. The sort of first analogues update for the spring. Very, very late with spring updates this year due to the shutdown. But we have managed to get some analogues together for you for tomorrow, so that'll be the first video up. Then we'll have the Gaz Weatherlies Sunday Roundup that I just mentioned. We'll also have a little update about summer tomorrow as well, so stay tuned for that. Going to be quite an interesting video. I've already recorded it, and I think it's quite an interesting watch. And then we'll finish up tomorrow with the Ensembles watch. There'll be 4 videos tomorrow. Going to be a really, really busy day coming up at Gaz Weatherlies tomorrow. If you're waiting for the month-end forecast for February, it's pushed back to Monday. It's just got too many updates to do this weekend to fit it in. But the February forecast, delayed a little bit, will be with you on Monday. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to say a big thank you to our latest PayPal donor. So, big thank you, special thank you to Thomas Defty. Thomas Defty has become Gaz Weatherlies' latest PayPal donor, and a big thank you to Thomas for doing that. Big thank you to all of the PayPal donors, and if you would like to make a donation to Gaz Weatherlies through PayPal, then all you need to do is come to gazweatherlies.me PayPal page, sign into PayPal account, and then very simply you can just donate whatever you want as a one-off donation, as Thomas has done. And a big, big thank you to Thomas for doing that. Of course, there is also Patreon as well. So this is the Gaz Weatherlies Patreon page. I believe there's a little bit of a delay with processing the payments this month at Patreon, but they will get round to it very, very shortly. Got 60 patrons so far. If you would like to become a patron, Gaz Weatherlies, all you need to do is come to Gaz Weatherlies Patreon page, sign up for a Patreon account, and then you can become a patron. You give an ongoing monthly donation to Gaz Weatherlies. It could be anything from $1 a month upwards. And by doing that, you become a patron for Gaz Weatherlies. A big thank you to all of the patrons. Hello. And a big thank you to all of you. Hello. And big thank you to all the PayPal donors. And you're helping us to pay for our content. We're primarily ads funded, and will be remaining, so that is just another revenue stream. So big thank you to all of PayPal donors and all of patrons for Gaz Weatherlies. Right, let's get on with today's video. I'm going to start off with the Central England temperature. So this is how things are currently looking with Hadley. So we've got January's number in, of course. I announced this in video yesterday. This confirms it, that for January 2019, the CT came out at 4.0, which is an anomaly of almost bang on average, almost right exactly where you're expected to be in terms of the 61 to 1990 average. But compared to the more modern average, 81 to 2010, which is a warmer temperature series, it was actually a little bit colder than average. February, provisional, just for the first day, very, very cold. CET for the first day of February stands at minus 0.3, an anomaly of 4.5 degrees below average. That is provisional up to the first day of February. So very cold first day of February. That's probably going to go down even more. There's going to be a really severe frost tonight coming up. And then, of course, next week going to get milder, so that will start to rise quite rapidly. But certainly for the very first day of the month, it is has been really cold. That's probably the coldest start to February that we had for around 10 years. I think you're probably going to go back to 2009 for the last time we had a colder start to February than that. This is the situation on the Thursday of February 2009, of course, where we had this Scandinavian high pulling in this bitterly cold easterly wind, and things got even more severe as we went through to the second. So 10 years ago today, we was bringing in these very cold easterly winds and bringing heavy snow in from the east as well. There's the upper air temperatures showing how cold it was with that bitterly cold easterly wind bringing snow, particularly to eastern, southeast parts of the country. I know London, for example, had a real snow event on the 2nd of February 2009. And then low pressure sort of developed in situ over the country before it started to move up from the south. And then battle lines were drawn and went into a very snowy spell of weather from around the 4th through the 5th, again with this area of low pressure. And then another one pushing up from the south on the 6th, bringing repeated bouts of snow. The battle lines were particularly drawn through kind of like Wales, the Midlands, into parts of East Anglia and Lincolnshire. Some places recording up to 20-30 centimetres of snow, a foot of snow, during this sort of opening week of February 2009. Where I am in Northants, it was a very snowy period. Actually, we had more snow in this week, the first week of February 2009, than we did in either the winter of 09-10 or indeed in the December to remember in 2010. Although, of course, there was snow during most periods. It was actually snowier through this first week of February here in rural Northants. So, anyway, bit of a blast from the past. It's 10 years ago since we had that very cold and snowy first week to February of 2009. Well, nothing cold and snowy about the weather coming up. Actually, it's going to be getting a lot milder. So we have had cold and snowy conditions over the past few days, but only a little while to go now with the cold weather, and then it's on its way out. Monday will start to go milder as we get through to next week. It is going to be much more unsettled with low pressure coming in off the Atlantic, but also temperatures will be lifting up. These are the 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts from Penn State University. We've got the ECMWF here on the top, and the GFS, which we'll have a good look at in a moment, is on the bottom. 500 millibars, and that's Venus area in the actual high pressure, low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream running above. Red and orange extrapolates high pressure, blue to low pressure. So the ECMWF in the 7 to 10 day time frame, which takes us to around the 12th of February, has this area of below average heights out in the Atlantic to our west northwest, with above average heights to the east, but also to the southeast. And so the squeeze of the isobars between the two shows that the jet stream is coming across the Atlantic and then moving northwards. We're placed on the mild side of the jet stream, therefore, and we're pulling up the air from the central part of the Atlantic Ocean. So not only will it be quite unsettled, it will be turning a lot milder too. Notice also much milder across America. High pressure will be ridging in across the central and eastern states. That's pushing the jet stream up to the north as well. The jet stream is through there. So it's going to be a lot milder for the opening week of February in many parts of America too. Interesting that we've had cold weather on both sides of the Atlantic over the past week or so, and now we're going to be having much milder weather on both sides of the Atlantic as well. If we go down to the GFS, you can see very similar. So again, we've got this area of above average heights sitting to our south. Below average heights are up to the north. Got a big ridge across the eastern parts of America that will be turning many central, eastern and northern parts of the states mild. The jet stream is coming through there and coming into the UK like that. So on the mild side of the jet stream, got high pressure to our south, low pressure to the north, and so we're going to be bringing the air in from off the Atlantic. Much milder, but also rather unsettled, particularly, but not exclusively, for northern and western parts of the country in the 7 to 10 day time frame. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next 2 weeks. On at St Helier down in Jersey today, another place on our suggested list of locations for this part of the video. So the red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for St Helier, starting off cold. At the moment, I don't think they've had much snow down in the Channel Islands, but it certainly is pretty cold. Temperatures will be lifting up though over the next couple of days, so by the time you get through to the early and middle part of next week, going really quite mild. Then after that, through the middle and second half of next week, see a little bit of a drop in the temperature before they again start to lift up through the second week of February. Now there are a few cold outlier members. These ones just here are keeping things pretty cold, and maybe there's a few more of them actually as we get towards the middle part of February. That's this period just here. Quite a few cold outlier members there. In fact, there's so many of them that they probably aren't cold outliers by that point. There's just a lot of scatter with several ensemble members that are going cold, several that are keeping things mild or very mild. But the trend within the ensemble is definitely to be turning things milder by the end of the first week of February and into second week of February. Most of these ensemble members are looking mild or even very mild. Precipitation wise, it's turning more unsettled as well. Fair amount of dry weather coming up over the next couple of days, dry but cold. But then from around Monday onwards, much more unsettled. Lots of precipitation spikes. Of course, of next week there will be regular bouts of rain. Around the middle of February, possibly a bit of a drying trend then. But of course, that is a very long way off. Temperature anomalies are looking like this from the 2nd through to the 10th of February, a little bit milder than average. Those temperature anomalies are starting to lift up, so it's becoming a little bit milder than average in the weekend. Expect that trend to continue over the next few days. Precipitation anomalies average to a little bit wetter than average for western parts of the country, still a little bit drier than average on the eastern side of the country. That's how the GFS is looking for Tuesday. And this is all covered by weekend forecast, of course. So this is the 6 o'clock GFS operational run. Low pressure's driving in from off the Atlantic, so quite unsettled. Bouts of rain coming through next week with these areas of low pressure taking us into next weekend. Looking quite unsettled then as well. That's running up towards day 10, and we're looking very mild and unsettled at this point. This is day 10, which is Tuesday the 12th of February. We've got a big area of high pressure that's setting up across central and southern parts of Europe. Low pressure is up here to the northwest. We're dragging up these mild or even very mild winds from the central Atlantic. So that comes off. You're going to be seeing temperatures lifting up into the low sort of teens Celsius. 12, 13, 14 is certainly possible in that kind of scenario. Although there is likely to be a weather front that's strung out, and that could bring quite a lot of rain, particularly to western parts of the country. In a more extended range, where we keep it unsettled, we do lose that ridge across central southern Europe, so that breaks down a little bit. Starts to turn a bit cooler, but it's certainly still very unsettled going up to the middle part of February. The Atlantic is unleashed. And that's how we finish up with the GFS operational run, still looking very unsettled with low pressure driving in from off the Atlantic. That gets us to the 18th of February. This is how the GFS parallel run is looking in comparison. So again, unsettled through the course of next week. Low pressure driving in from the west. That takes us into next weekend as well. Still looking pretty wet and windy through next weekend. That's Monday the 11th of February, so Atlantic is still churning away. There's that ridge building up by day 10 across central and southern parts of Europe, dragging up the air from a southwesterly direction. That gets us to the 12th of February, of course. And then in a more extended range, it just looks like the Atlantic onslaught goes on, really. Low pressure continues to drive in up to the middle part of the month. That's how we finish up on Monday the 18th of February, still looking very unsettled. Just starting to pull down some slightly cooler air from the north at that point, but still nothing particularly cold doing at that point. GM is looking like this. So again, low pressure's coming in off the Atlantic on Tuesday, takes into a very unsettled spell through the course of next week. Regular areas of low pressure bringing bouts of rain across the country. The only difference, I think, with the GM is that these low pressures are on a slightly more southerly track compared to the GFS, so it does allow some colder air to filter in to the north at times. You notice heights are generally just that little bit higher to our north, so it's all a little bit cooler in terms of these bouts of rain, but still it's all very Atlantic driven. That's how we finish up at day 10, with a ridge building up from the southwest into the UK. GM's always a little bit different, but it's still broadly in line, I think, with the GFS, which is much more unsettled and not overly cold either. And then the ECMWF is looking like this. So again, low pressure is giving us a battering through the course of the coming week. Regular bouts of wet and windy weather pushing in off the Atlantic Ocean. That continues into next weekend as well. All the time, winds coming from the west or southwest, so it's generally pretty mild. That's how we finish up at day 10. Again, we've got that ridge. It's a little bit closer to us, but it's still in line with what the GFS is showing, really a ridge of high pressure building to our south and some degree to the east as well. Low pressure is out up here. The jet stream is up there, so on the mild side of the jet. And the air is originating somewhere from around the Azores, pushing up into the UK. So again, that could be lifting temperatures to around 12, 13 or 14 degrees. Pretty grim charts if you want cold weather, I have to say, through the first week to 10 days of February. But bear in mind, it is still early days for February. There's still plenty of time to start getting significantly colder conditions coming through. Certainly up to day 10, there's no sign of anything particularly cold once we get this weekend out of the way. But that still leaves several weeks for potentially cold weather. This is how the GFS ensembles are looking in terms of the postage stamps. So it's how things look at day 10 at the Icelandic Met Office. This is taking us to the 12th of February. So we've got 29 ECM ensemble members that have a ridge of high pressure at day 10 to our south, with low pressure out to the north and northwest, in line really with what we were just seeing from most of those models, bringing up the air from the middle part of the Atlantic Ocean. So looking generally mild, more unsettled to the north, driest to the south. And then there's another option. 22 ECM ensemble members look like this, and they include the operational run with just more of an anticyclonic influence really close to the UK, but that high pressure has originated from the south, so it's a very mild area of high pressure, certainly nothing particularly cold associated with it. Low pressure is out to the north and to the west. The jet stream is up there on the mild side of the jet stream, so mainly dry by day 10, with those 22 members of the ECM ensembles, including the operational run, mainly dry and quite mild. If we go through to 2 weeks away, this gets us to 360 hours, which is the 17th of February. By then, a lot of options on the table. So we've got 12 members of the ECM ensembles that look very unsettled in 2 weeks' time, with low pressure out to our west, driving in from off the Atlantic, bringing bouts of rain and generally mild conditions as well. Then we've got another 11 that have low pressure stalled in the middle of the Atlantic and a ridge of high pressure sitting just to our east. Those ones are mainly dry, but also very mild. They're bringing up the air from a southerly direction. There's a minority option 7 that has high pressure over and a bit to the north of the country. They're a lot colder. They're bringing winds in from a northeasterly or easterly direction. Then there's another 7 that look like this. They have high pressure to the south and southeast, low pressure to the north and northeast. They look pretty mild. They're bringing winds up from the west or the southwest. Then there's another 7 that look like that, generally quite mild, low pressure to our west, high pressure to our east, or over and to our east. Again, we're on the mild side of the jet stream. And then there's a further 7 that have, again, colder weather, high pressure centred generally to our north, but a little bit more towards Greenland and Iceland perhaps with those, so more of a east-northeasterly wind. Those ones are colder, so there's really just 14. If we combine those 7 and these 7, there's really just 14 that are going for cold options now and northern blocking in 2 weeks' time. The ECM ensembles have definitely shifted. They've shifted a lot towards milder weather for the middle part of February. These 12 and then these 11 and then going down to those 7, and those 7, if you put them all together, then obviously the ECM ensembles have shifted towards milder weather for the middle of February. Whether that's mild and anticyclonic, mild and dry, or whether that's mild and wet and unsettled. So that sort of detail is to be determined, but definitely there has been a shift within the ECM ensembles towards milder conditions for the middle of February, and reducing, of course, the blocking signal quite a lot. Finally, just have a look at what CFS V2 is showing. So these are 500 millibar heights broken down into week periods. The first week period will take us from the 2nd to the 8th of February, with below average heights out to our west and to our south, above average heights across central parts of Europe and extending into the North Pole as well. Looking more unsettled, and although probably starting off quite cold in weekend, becoming milder as well. This is how things look in week 2. It's the 9th to the 15th of February. Quite a bit of northern blocking. High pressure from Scandinavia going over towards Greenland. Low pressure is out to our southwest. The flow and the jet is going something like that. So we're very close to pulling in cold air with that. But actually the model would probably suggest mild conditions, bringing the air up from southern parts of Europe. Then we go through to week 3. It's the 16th to 22nd of February. Again, quite a strong blocking signal with high pressure from Greenland to Scandinavia, but this time low pressure is out to west of Ireland, and so for us we're bringing the air in from off the Atlantic, telling us that despite the northern blocking, and there is quite significant northern blocking there, we're still generally mild with winds from the west. And then we finish up in week 4, which is the 23rd of February to the 1st of March, still with above average heights around Greenland and extending to the north of Scandinavia. Below average heights are to the south and southwest of the UK, so we remain unsettled but with a northern blocking signal and mild, and it just goes to show you that sometimes things just don't line up quite right to bring us cold conditions, and that will therefore be generally quite a mild February that the CFS is forecasting. Now, I don't think we worry too much about that. I think we concentrate on the weather for the next week to 10 days, which is looking generally fairly mild and unsettled. Once we get this weekend, which of course is cold, out of the way, things will be turning quite a lot milder and more unsettled as well. And then that will take us into next week, and beyond that up towards next weekend, still driving in low pressure from off the Atlantic. So I think we can say really to around the 12th of February we're looking quite mild once this weekend is out of the way. That does still leave time to turn things a lot colder though, so I know there'll be a lot of you watching this thinking that that is the end of winter and it's time to dust off your barbecues and your t-shirt and shorts, but it is only very early in February. As we saw what happened last year, the coldest weather last winter came on the first day of spring, on the first day of March. We almost certainly won't get a repeat of that because that was very extreme, what happened with the beast from the east. But it does tell us that we can still have substantially cold weather in the next few weeks. So I certainly wouldn't be writing off the chance of more frost, more snow, more ice in the week ahead. But certainly for the next week to 10 days, once the weekend is out the way, so a lot more unsettled and also quite wet and windy too as this topsy-turvy winter 2018-19 continues. Candlemas Day today, of course, and it's been a mainly sunny day where I am. I think it's been a mainly sunny day through most parts of the country, and weather law suggests that if you've got a sunny and dry Candlemas Day, then winter is got a lot more left in the tank. So maybe the Candlemas Day folklore will come true. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Right, so tomorrow, loads of updates coming up. We'll start off with some spring analogues. We'll also have Begazo with Sunny Roundup. We'll have a little bit on summer as well. And we'll finish off with the GFS Ensembles Watch. 4 videos tomorrow, so come back for all of them. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.